Okay, I'd like to welcome everybody here to TBA Outdoors today, here in Winter Park, Florida. And today we're going to have a really interesting discussion about the coastal lifestyle and some trends that we're seeing in the outdoor industry. And I wanted to get everybody together in the different disciplines and passion sets to talk about what's going on and what we're all seeing in our individual industries, and you know, the trends that we're seeing, and to be able to translate that to brands, the consumers, and talk about the venues that are out there to help do that. So why don't we start out with introducing everybody, and let's start with Kenneth Andres here to my right.
Hey, Kenneth Andres. I'm with Surf Expo, and I'm the sales and category manager for several different segments at the show, including the wake, wind, and paddles, and new blue water section. Cool.
Ben
Greenwood, publisher of wakeboarding, work with Bonnier Corp, and we work with a lot of water sports brands. Former professional wakeboarder myself.
Nice.
And yeah.
Awesome.
Former
Welcome.
rider of the year, I will add.
Nice. There you go.
Thank you, Kevin.
Awesome. Glenn?
I'm Glenn Law. I'm the editor-in-chief of Saltwater Sportsman magazine with Bonnier as well, right here in Winter Park.
Great. Thank you.
Kevin Michael, I'm the executive director of the WSIA, Water Sports Industry Association. And this is my second podcast of this week, so I'm hoping my radio voice is in tune here.
There you go. Welcome.
Matthew Dvorak, Daytona Beach Parasail and Ponce Inlet Water Sports.
Awesome. Excellent. Well, let's get started by just talking about what everybody's seeing in regards to outdoor recreation in the increase. I know that, you know, statistics say that everybody, you know, especially millennials and all the full age range. Let's start out by talking about the demographics and in the outdoor industry and how we're seeing, you know, the increase in activities across the board. Ben, what do you say from the wake side? I mean, what are you seeing?
Yeah, from the wake side, we're definitely seeing a lot of the boat brands that are not necessarily your core boat brands really gravitating towards the water sports activities. You know, in the past, they've maybe mirrored a lot of just stylistic cues from the sort of trend-setting wake sports.
Right.
But now they're offering up legitimate water sports boats, maybe not at your, you know, elite top pro level, but more than sufficient for your average family to really enjoy those sports that we've always come to love.
Right.
So there's a big gravitation towards that sort of recreational, you know, do it all while you're out on the boat kind of thing, and that's great. It's just telling the story more about, you know, get out on a wake surfer, learn to ski. You know, we have a whole pass the handle initiative to really support that, and you know, Kev knows that very intimately, and we're seeing a lot more people get involved.
Awesome. And Glenn, how about from the fishing side?
I was just going to mention, we see a real strong trend here. For so many years, there were different divisions of boats. There were runabouts and fun boats, and there were fishing boats. And even though a family boat might carry a fishing rod and they could say you can fish from it, to the fisherman, that wasn't a fishing boat.
Right.
And to the family or to the general recreational boater, a fishing boat was not a comfortable place to be. The last 2 or 3 years, especially, we've seen the market demanding boats that do more than one thing. We call it for the hardcore tournament fishermen and family friendly. And they're adopting, the fishing boat manufacturers that were born as fishing boat manufacturers are adopting more creature comforts and just making it more amenable to family use and things besides fishing. And it's every major fishing boat manufacturer is concentrating here right now.
Right.
I was looking online yesterday. I saw an ad for a skiff, which is a highly specialized flats fishing boat, and it had racks on it, and it was carrying 2 paddle boards.
Right.
So there's your story right there.
Right. Yeah. I think it's, you know, it's kind of why we're here today. It's the larger discussion about the crossover and what the industry is doing and the boom of outdoor recreation. I mean, you know, Matt, I think you see it every day. Why don't you talk about your business in the water sports and kind of what you're seeing on a day-to-day basis with consumers.
Well, the consumers are definitely wanting multiple activities. My family that comes and parasails on Monday, goes offshore fishing on Tuesday, paddleboarding on Wednesday, dolphin manatee tour on Thursday. They want it all. They want to enjoy it all from paddleboarding to parasailing to fishing to all the activities on the water. They want that lifestyle. They want to enjoy it. Even if for my specific, it's more of a tourist bait. They want it. They want it all. They want to bite the apple. They want to eat the whole apple.
Right. And I think, we were talking a little bit earlier too about, social media and YouTube and the ability for people to really, learn sports and in these passion segments where it would the time to entry was a lot longer in learning how to do these sports and passions, be it fishing or wakeboarding or stand up paddle. It really provides the end user and the consumer with a quick entry into these passion sets. And I think that today a lot of brands aren't necessarily thinking about that and thinking about their core passion group also is doing all these other activities at the same time.
Yeah, we found that we're doing some market research, because there are certain segments that are up, there are some that are down, even just within water sports. And one of the things we identified was just time. Like, people don't have the time that they used to have. They're being pulled in a million different directions. Their kids are on a traveling soccer team and an after school thing, and that's all great. But with less amount of time, there's less, time to take part in a lot of these different things. So I think, we've seen the growth of wake surfing because there's a really steep learning curve there where you can be pretty good at it really quickly. It doesn't take as long to be a decent wake surfer as it does for an accomplished slalom skier, for example. So, as long as people are focusing on those types of things and giving them that experience without the few years of effort, I think that's key.
Right. And then from the fishing side, the amount of information out there and the ability, from bass fishing to, inshore fishing to offshore fishing, it's pretty amazing.
It is amazing. There's a lot of people. There's always been a certain hard center, a core of people that do it, and the ability to communicate what they know and to offer instruction online is phenomenal. We're competing constantly with how to and where to with people that are out there doing it and posting stuff every weekend.
Right. So Kenneth, from in regards to Surf Expo and your experience in the past with brands, what are brands saying in your conversations with them and
I think
in the industry?
From the trade show perspective, I think what we're doing or what we're seeing is exactly what Glenn and Ben are saying, is that surf brands are transitioning over to fishing, the fishing activity. So we're seeing surf brands with people going fishing, right? Or people wearing surf brands going wakeboarding or wake surfing. So this whole kind of convergence or confluence of all the water sports industries together is something that's kind of remarkable, and I think it's surprising to a lot of people, certainly manufacturers, that it's actually happening, right? And so what we're all here to do is to try to kind of shine a light on the fact that this convergence is actually happening, and we're excited about it.
Yeah, and I think there's a good opportunity for brands on the manufacturing side, for retailers to really kind of broaden their scope and understand what all the outdoor enthusiasts are doing, and an opportunity for them to maybe use new materials and new designs or add new features to the products that they offer to kind of offer something more than just maybe a fishing shirt. Any thoughts along those lines? For
it occurs to me there's kind of a model here, a cultural model that goes way back. Concept of in Hawaii of a waterman,
right?
I've never been to Hawaii. I'm not a surfer, but I've read a lot about it. It fascinates me. And my understanding is there's a culture there where a surfer is also a swimmer. They're a diver. They're a fisherman. It's a devotion and a passion for the ocean. Right. I think that maybe we're playing catch up to those guys in a lot of ways here, because you do have people that are passionate about being out in the ocean, and it doesn't really matter what they're doing. They want to be there.
Right.
They want to be part of that lifestyle. It is their lifestyle.
I can speak to that as a participant because, I spend my time in the industry of wakeboarding and water skiing, everything behind a boat that involves an engine. But in my free time, when the waves are good, I'm out at Satellite Beach surfing. And to me, it's become the ultimate because it's the great escape.
Right.
And, what we see, and kind of ties back to what Ben was saying earlier, there's people doing all kinds of things on the water now. Tubing is a huge segment of what we do. They're just doing anything. Ben and I spent a lot of our career, focused on wakeboarding, and it was a linear kind of action sport world that, but now it's kind of back to everyone doing everything on the water. And we were talking before this about millennials, and how they kind of operate differently. And I was with the president of Freedom Boat Club in Washington, D.C. at a lobbying event, and I think those guys and the whole livery business are onto something and it also ties into what Matt Dvorak was saying about they want experiences and they might want to do something one day and something different the next day.
Right.
At these livery businesses and the membership clubs, you can walk in, grab any boat you want, and when you're done, you leave.
Right.
You don't have to worry about the maintenance or anything. And
that's kind of cool.
There's kind of an argument in our industry. Oh, what's this doing to boat sales? Is this taken away? I don't think so, because Freedom Boat Club, for example, buys a whole new fleet of boats every 2 years.
Right.
So they're buying boats in bulk, and I think it might inspire, Dad to maybe own a boat on his own, but it's getting people on the water.
Right.
Well, that goes back to like what we were saying before about time. Like you said, if it's that easy to get out there and experience it, and then you're done, like boom, that's your time solved right there.
So at the end of the day, you don't have to wash the boat. Sign me up.
Yeah.
Well, and I think it speaks to maybe brands and manufacturers looking at, again, I'm going back to the product design, where people don't have that much time, so why not have one piece of clothing or shorts or shoes that work for all these different applications. Maybe not have a specific product for just for fishing or just for. So I think brands that recognize that are really going to be moving ahead in the future and really broadening their consumer base.
Mm-hmm. I think there's less consumers that see themselves as a fisherman or a wakeboarder or a surfer. They see themselves, like you were saying, as a waterman. They see themselves as, they'll fish today, they'll surf tomorrow, they'll paddle the next day. They don't see themselves on a linear path anymore. It's I can do everything. I want to do it. I mean, I want to try all these activities, and like the boat club, it gets people on the water that normally wouldn't get on the water and get to try things that they normally wouldn't get to try, which in turn makes them want to wear the soft apparel for a surf shirt, or tomorrow I'll wear a wakeboard shirt. Everything is, they're not worried about it because they're not a surfer, they're not a wakeboarder, they're not a fisherman. They're all of those things.
Right.
If I can mention a particular brand that I think has been amazingly successful.
Sure.
2 questions. Number 1, how many stickers on cars have you seen that say Salt Life? Mm-hmm. Number 2, what does Salt Life sell? Can you answer both questions? I'm not sure what Salt Life sells, except a concept that an awful lot of people want to identify with.
Right.
They've done a fantastic job, and I think maybe you can speak to that, Ken.
Do they sell stickers?
Salt Life is great. It's probably one of at the show we have 13 different verticals, and they have they sell a lifestyle product, right? And I think that everybody that from fishermen to wake or to paddle boards, all these guys can identify with, and that's the waterman is exactly how we identify the people who participate in our water sports, and it's a great. The show is actually providing a great avenue for all of this to be seen, and Salt Life is the perfect example of that crossover.
It's a concept instead of a particular sport.
Yeah, I think it's it's kind of an overall mindset, and really, I think digging into that and understanding what motivates people to get out on the water, and obviously family time, and having that family time, and being with your kids or your significant others is really important as we have less and less time, and then products to kind of go along with that. Matt, I'd be interested to. From what all water sports do you offer for services?
We do parasailing, we do backwater fishing, we do offshore fishing, paddle boards, kayaks, dolphin manatee tours, sunset cruises. So a little bit of everything.
Right.
Sign me up.
It's a rough life.
We should have done this at his place.
Why don't we hang out more?
Well, that's awesome. So I think from a from the Surf Expo standpoint, and the addition of the new Blue Water section, and really kind of that was one little piece that was missing from the show. And Glenn, we talked about the fishing is more than just on a boat, right? Fishing is you can do it from a dock, you can do it from the beach. And I think that's an important piece that maybe a lot of folks don't think about, is what really is fishing, and all the different opportunities to do that.
Yeah, we tend to get a little myopic about what is fishing because we deal with a very dedicated angler who wants to do very little else, thinks about very little else, and being in saltwater, we're a relatively small market. If you look at freshwater, it dwarfs the saltwater market. And the fact that there's, 63 million anglers in the country, they aren't all fishing on boats going offshore. Right. Most of them are fishing as an adjunct to their daily life. They're doing a lot of it in freshwater. They're doing it for black bass, which is a huge industry. And everybody can do it to some extent. Everybody loves to fish.
Right.
Even if they've only caught one. If they only caught one fish in their life, and I meet them, I will hear about the one fish that they caught in their life, without a doubt.
It's probably a little bigger than it originally.
It doesn't matter.
It's bigger every time they tell the story.
Casual as they are, the passion is there, and I hear about it every time I'm away from the fishing community and then meeting new people. And they find I don't tell them what I do, because I know I'm going to hear a fishing story.
Right.
But it's really remarkable to see just so little exposure to it, but it's part of what they're excited about.
Right. And so I think, one exciting thing is to really, bring brands together and bring in the industry together, and to start to talk about how can we work together, be it through, cross promotions, sweepstakes, and just really start that conversation. And I think, Surf Expo, is a great venue to do that for brands. I know the wake side's been there for a long time, and you've seen it kind of evolve and continue to evolve. Can you Ben talk about that a little bit? Kind of your experience, your view of how it's kind of transformed.
Yeah. So Surf Expo was a huge key in sort of what brought me to Florida in the first place. I'm originally from the Northeast, where living is a lot different than it is down here. You're not on the boat every day. You've got your concentrated time to enjoy it. But so Surf Expo, first couple of years, it was the who's who. I mean, the decision makers, the athletes, just the vibe around the whole thing was like a key thing that brought me to Florida to kind of chase this career. And and then over the years, I haven't missed one in I don't know how long, 15, 18 years. And and it's changed. There's been different things, but I think the cool thing is new opportunities. Like Todd, you had mentioned, maybe it was a missing piece, this blue water part.
Right.
But I don't necessarily think it was there a couple of years ago. I think it's sort of evolved into the opportunity has now presented itself. I can't think about that blue water section without thinking of, influencers and ex-pro surfers like CJ Hobgood, who have been walking that floor for years as a surfer. And then, he's always been involved and been a waterman and very influential in that kind of thing. And, now he's at his booth selling soft goods, in the same on the same floor that he would have been sponsored by a surf company back in the day. So, I think it's an interesting evolution for sure. And, there's not a person now that, like if you're not an accomplished waterman and you're claiming that you're, I live this coastal lifestyle and I'm in the waves every day, but like, but you don't know how to fish. Like, that's a little bit weird. Right. It's like, okay, so you're using this body of water for your entertainment, but what about, providing for yourself, so it is sort of like the convergence. I think the way Ken said it was really good.
Right. And I think that, a lot of guys are known in their passion set, be it surfing or fishing, and they do these other activities, but they don't really talk about it, right? It's kind of their hidden secret. Well, I think that there's a lot of people out there doing that same thing, and to kind of talk about it and to say, well, being a waterman is cool. I mean, the whole being on the water is fantastic. It's where we really recharge and be able to do what we do every day, and the passion behind what we do. And it's for me, I'm fortunate enough to live on a lake here in Central Florida, and to be able to go out every night. And for me, it's that recharge, to take my son out and catch bass and to experience that. There's nothing else like being in the outdoors, for sure.
I've never been to Surf Expo.
Oh.
What is the blue water component exactly?
So Blue Water, we started in January of this year, and it's when I came over to Surf Expo, what I saw were soft goods or apparel and accessories scattered throughout the show floor that would traditionally exhibit in the fishing industry or the boating industry. And so I think it kind of, Todd and I got to talking and understanding and saying, hey, you know what? There's a lot of fishing and boating brands at Surf Expo. Let's find out what's going on. And so they've carved out a niche in what is traditionally, a wake, wind, and surf industry, or surf show. And so the blue water section it's just, we saw this appeal of the brands for several different brands. Salt Life is one of them that transcends fishing, or transcends boating. It goes into all of the verticals that we have at Surf Expo. And so we kind of we had a small section in January. It was met very well, received very well, and as people started to find out about it, they said that's where we want to be. That's what we want to be identified as, because they're maybe not necessarily a surf brand, but they're a soft good or an accessory that could somebody could wear in surfing or in wakeboarding. So it's the lifestyle. It's a coastal lifestyle section that appeals to a much broader group of people. So it's been growing, and get calls every day for it. So it's really been great.
And I think if you look at some of the other brands, let's say boat paddle boards, who's kind of crosses everything, from a fishing standpoint, from yoga on the water to surfing to paddleboard, just recreational paddleboard or adventure paddleboard. I mean, that's a good example of a brand that's kind of transcending the fishing, the coastal lifestyle. And I mean, there's tons of other brands out there that are doing the same thing. So
yeah, and the interesting thing about boating and water sports and wakeboarding, Kev knows this from his time at wakeboarding back in the day. Wakeboarding really positioned itself as like, hey, it's the coastal lifestyle. You get to experience what it's like to be a surfer, but you live in the Midwest. You don't have waves for hundreds of miles away.
Sure.
So it does kind of tell that sort of coastal lifestyle story, but in the inner part of the U.S. So
right.
I think wake surfing and that kind of thing, people get a taste of what it's like to really surf in the ocean. No one's going to claim it's the same thing, but it's pretty close.
It is. And I think, again, what we talked about, designing products for that, right? And where do most folks in the Midwest go and when it gets cold? They come down here, right? And they experience the beach, and they experience, fishing down here on the, the lakes and for big bass or whatever their passion set is. It's an interesting new look at, I think, Glenn, what you said, that's been a time tradition as a waterman, but to kind of a fresh look at, maybe we've been so focused in our little niches that there's some opportunity there, to really look at this whole passion set coastal lifestyle, and maybe in a little different way.
I mean, if you look at, just for example, my captains and my crews, my captain's wearing a wide brim surf hat for surfers. He's wearing board shorts for surfers. He's got his fishing tool belt on top of his board shorts with a surf shirt on or a paddleboard shirt on. They're wearing everything. There's
sunglasses.
They're wearing sunglasses are huge. And they'll fight over sunglasses with each other. So there's not that's a sore subject. But they're crossing all brands in the soft market. All the way down to their slaps. Which slaps are the best for the boats, or the best for all of their entire. They don't care if it's a surf brand or a wake brand or a fishing brand. What's best for them on the water is what they're going to have on. It could be surf hat, it could be fishing shoes. It doesn't matter. It's what's best, and they couldn't care less. What the brand says it is.
Yeah, and I think from an end user's perspective, I mean, that's exactly what we're seeing in the market. All we're doing is highlighting the fact that this trend is happening, and it's been happening. And I think this is a great opportunity for a lot of manufacturers to put new eyes on their product in a niche product, and expand their reach. It's an exciting time for the industry.
For sure. So let's talk about something the new announcement with Surf Expo, and really when we talk about brands and bringing brands together, the media and the buyers. So Ken, you want to talk about that?
So again, looking at Demo Day in the past, it's always been a hard goods specific event where paddle boards and kayaks or canoes can be tested out in a practical setting, on the lake out at Turkey Lake. Well, I think what we're trying to do in understanding how trade shows have changed, and what we can do to help manufacturers or our exhibitors is to bring media, right? To be more of a media platform. We're going to bring buyers, but what we want is to get the message out about these brands and their products. So we've kind of changed up the Demo Day to be more of a media and Demo Day. We've got a great announcement. Costa is going to sponsor the overall event. Found that out last night. Unfortunately, they couldn't be here today because it was so close to today. But it's going to be a celebration. It's going to kick off the show, as opposed to just, again, segmenting, to one particular part of the show. It's going to be a celebration for hard goods, soft goods, accessories. We're going to have more media presence there. Hopefully, a lot of that will be pushed out. A lot of content will be pushed out from there on site. People will write about it, so that'll drop probably after the show. And buyers. And so with the celebration, you need to get fed and get entertained. So we're going to have bluegrass and barbecue, and hopefully everybody will have a good time. I think it's a change, right? We have the people in this room are all part of a great outdoor waterman industry, and we like to have fun, right? And I think that that's part of this, and I think that it can be a celebration, and we can talk about business, but I think it's a great opportunity to really network outside the trade show floor, and then carry those conversations and relationships onto the show floor and do business.
Kenneth's statements are even stronger with these two 10-point bucks right over his head in this studio right now. You're very authoritative from my angle.
Thank you.
It's like Game of Thrones.
I know. But yeah, so with Todd's help, and Todd and I've worked together for many years now, and it's been a great relationship with Todd. We both see things very similarly, and I think what we both agree on is that we have the greatest platform for all of these segments, right? This trade show, we bring everybody under one roof for 3 days. Well, 4 days, including the media and demo day. And this is an opportunity for us to network, bring new people into each of our segments, expand our knowledge, especially from the retail level, about how to sell new products, right? It's not taboo for a fishing shop to sell surf gear, right? Or a wake shop or a marina to sell something that's not a wake product. Right. So I think we're just going to continue to tear down these kinds of these walls about what we should be selling or shouldn't be selling, and start listening to what the end users want, the consumers want, and start pushing it out that way.
Yeah, I think kind of what we started out. It's a great opportunity, really is, and I think that brands that embrace this and start talking to the wake community, the fishing community, and the SUP community, and all of us start looking at the bigger picture. How do we continue to grow and work together to be successful? And it's really exciting, and to have all you guys here today to support this and to kind of talk about this. I think it's just one of many podcasts to come, as we kind of delve in and we go back and think about how does this impact each of our businesses and what we do every day, and really start the conversation. So
yeah,
that was awesome.
I think it's great that all of you guys came and just share. We talked a little bit before about how what we saw in our different industries, and it's not like we're promoting one over the other. We're just seeing these trends. We're not pushing an agenda other than just saying, hey, wow, I do notice that. I do see that. And I think that, Matt's it's the best thing that Matt's here, because he sees it on the sales level, right? So if we can just keep moving forward and having more podcasts or more conversations about it, I think that's going to be great.
Yeah, I'm really excited, for the media day, and we were talking at lunch the other day with some other folks from the media side, and the exciting part is that it's a day outside of the show, because everybody's busy trying to meet with buyers and sell their wares, and it'll really give media a chance to have a one-on-one conversation, experience the product outside of that environment, where the manufacturers and will be a little more receptive, I think, to talking about their product in that venue, and plus it'll be outside on the water. So again, really appreciate you guys coming. Any other kind of thoughts as we end the podcast?
Yeah, I don't know how it fits into this program in what way, but just wanted to further support the efforts that Surf Expo has made over the years, because the crew there, including Kenneth, and before that Roy Turner, there's a whole host, Steve Fisher, and those guys, they honestly genuinely care about the activities, which is important because these are all passion fueled activities. And then but they understand how to tie the business end to it as well, and they've been really good at being the friendly business folks who run this show that for us is the place to be. It's the pep rally at the end of the summer for the wake sports industry, and if you're not there, you're missing out. And it's a place where people do product launches. There's the Wake Awards that have been highly successful over the years. It's kind of the end of the season recap plus the new product launch. It's kind of got a consumer electronics buzz, a more waterlogged version of that. But it's the place to be, and we're doing everything we can to continue that, because the landscape has changed immensely from when people buy products, how they buy products. Obviously the digital space has changed that whole deal, but this is the one time where our whole industry gets in a room with product, and it's the kind of place to show your muscles and show what you got. And I think it's a very healthy, competitive environment. And then everyone in the industry realizes, okay, we're kind of all in this together,
Right.
Let's take our gloves off, and there's some, snooping going on at the new boats and stuff around, but
Right.
everyone has this general sense of, we're all pushing this together. Let's plant more apple trees than
Absolutely.
be pulling apples
Yeah.
off the tree ourselves. And I think that's directly related to Roy and Kenneth and Fish and the whole crew, Adrian at Surf Expo.
Cool.
Thanks,
Cool.
Kevin. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think you hit it right on the head. In regards to working together, it's going to take every industry to work together to really continue to grow the outdoor segment. And Glenn, from the fishing side, we're excited to have more involvement and to really kind of open the eyes to the fishing world in regards to the opportunities and all the buyers from all over the world that come to Surf Expo, that people that go to their locations, they actually fish, and to have some of these retail shops and gift shops and destination shops to really expose new fishing brands to their consumers as well, I think it's a great opportunity, and one that we recognize, and really the reason that the Blue Water section was kind of created.
Yeah, it'd be terrible for me not to mention the fact that Costa is sponsoring our media and demo day. Hell's Bay is sponsoring the Blue Water Lounge. Just watching the activity between Boat and Hell's Bay in January. We had Flip Howat, legendary waterman.
Yep.
There in January, and watching this synergy, paddle sports and flats boats. Think, man, that'd be cool. Get a rack, get the boats up, get the paddle boards up on the boat, get into some skinny water. Get to ultra skinny water.
Right.
Drop a fly and then pop right back out and come back to the marina. It's cool. It's happening. It's there, and all we're doing is trying to create a space for it to happen.
I learned years ago that if I'm going to spend all day pulling the flats after bonefish or tarpon, I want a good coat of surfboard wax on my push-pull.
There you go. That's great. Any other kind of closing comments from anybody before we kind of wrap this up?
Kenneth said lunch was included in the deal. That's the
Well,
only
we got
reason
we got a good lunch. We got some great barbecue across the street. I can
Okay.
guarantee we're headed there next. But again, really appreciate it, and we look forward to Surf Expo and seeing you guys there, and the new Blue Water and the media and demo day. So appreciate it all.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.